being anti-racist is a doing word. So, individuals may say, but I'm not racist, I'm not racist. But anti is a verb, so actually what you're doing. And one of the examples that I wrote about in that guide was, as a parent, it's sometimes what you do. Yeah, you may not say an offensive name against somebody within earshot of your child, but your behaviours may suggest otherwise. I.e., if you're walking down the street and a group of black youths came towards you, do you hold your child's hand tighter, or do you cross
Sort of
the
micro
road? So
behaviours.
your behaviours, your child is picking up they're a danger. When you see an injustice of something, it may be on the television and your child's watching it with you, or you're out and about, do you call it out? So therefore your child can see your anti-racism. So you become an anti-racist family. So that's what I think is important for parents to do, is about thinking, what can I do? And it's these little things in terms of, becoming an ally, as it were.
Yeah, and that can sometimes feel like, and just situation dependent. That can be a very different amount of like mental load, I think, on
Absolutely.
parents.
Yeah, yeah.
I know it's something that, like, where I am in Devon, representative groups not hugely diverse down here in Devon, so they're like opportunities for those kind of anti-racism, acts and doing behaviours
Absolutely.
are different in scope than if we lived in centre of Bristol or something, which is not that far, but it would change, the
Yeah, and I think it's
expectations.
then about then again how you have these conversations, because children see things all the time. So it's about then saying that how, as a parent, as if we, teachers, how the grown ups talk about these issues and point out right from wrong. So one of the things I always say is that we can teach our children right from wrong about a number of subjects. Therefore, we should teach them right from wrong about racism, irrespective if you're in a diverse community or not. And it's even more important for children who are not raised in a diverse
Yeah.
community that we have these urgent and important conversations.
I can remember, like, to give a personal anecdote. I think I lost myself for about 3 months when I was a newly qualified teacher, and the first ever class I had a child being openly. It was open racism, because he would refer to anybody that he saw who wasn't white as, well, they're not English. But I had such a visceral reaction to it that I spent weeks setting stuff up every morning to try and, like, unpick, doing different stuff and challenging it and setting up different scenarios, and like, but I was aware that that was his only experience of those things, and the class was getting this kind of, like, I was an NQT. I was doing the most heavy-handed, like, I'm gonna change everything in and to the point where I would put up, like, I can still remember because it's burned in. I would put up pictures at one point. It was like silhouetted faces, and I gave information about the people. Their parents were born here, they were lived here all their life. Their job is this, and then the next silhouetted face said, they were born in this country with their parents, but they lived in it. And I would go, okay, let's talk about, because that was their deal, was like, well, they're not from here. So I go, okay, here's all the information. And then I would click the next slide, and some of them were black and brown faces, and some of them were white. And immediately this child would switch and go, oh, no, they're not British.
Yeah.
But even though 10 seconds before he'd been like, yeah, if their parents were here and they were born here, that's the thing. I was like, and then I was just like, well, this is such it's an ingrained and, like, emotional response. I'm not going to unpick, potentially 8 years of this kind of, like, indoctrination stuff, but also I'm doing like a 20-minute thing, and then he's going home and the rest of his cultural diet is undoing or reinforcing everything that I'm trying to stop, which is one of the things that I think can feel like a weight for educators to be like, I desperately want
Mm,
to do this thing, trying to factor that stuff in. And so I really like having books like Maya and Marley that are just, they're not heavy handed. They're not like,
mm.
here's the thing. It's just like, I'm going to tell you this thing. We're going to go on. That's fine. Just kind of not flies under the radar, but it's just in there. It's just it's normalized
Exactly,
experience.
exactly. And that for me, you're saying that that child was 8, that comes back to this previous point I was saying about the research, the children within their early years. And one of the things that I do say, it becomes a whole community thing in terms of how can we support parents at home, how can we support children, and then how can we support the grown-ups who work with them on a day-to-day basis. So it's a holistic approach of everybody having that understanding, and everybody's going to be at different points in their journey. It's about we're all learning every single day to do better.
Do you have like success stories of like you've kind of put that in place in communities and seen real change,
Yeah, I
or is
think
it?
definitely. I think with a lot of schools, and I think especially since George Floyd, but then I think, which was, 4 years ago, we were in lockdown, there were some people who embraced it, did a little bit of work, and haven't revisited it again. But then obviously there are some nurseries and schools that they have it as part of their values. You go in and you can see it within I can definitely tell where work's been done
Oh,
within a
okay.
nursery and school. As soon as you walk in, you can feel that.
Oh, go on. Tell me some of the
There's a
things. What are you
school,
What are you
an
seeing that's
academy
like?
trust in Kent,
Hmm.
and the CEO, I think they've got 10 or 12 schools. He's
Right.
bought a copy for every class of My Skin, Your Skin and My Family, Your Family.